Good evening. You're watching the Sultan of Oman Television 7 o'clock English News. First, the headlines. New scholastic year starts tomorrow, and the Minister of Education confirms its preparedness of the new academic year. Leaders of the G7 nations arrive in France for a summit that will highlight topics of trade, Iran, and the climate change. And the UK Prime Minister promises to build an international, outward-looking Britain once it leaves the European Union after more than 40 years. And now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos sent cable greetings to His Excellency President Tabaré Vázquez of the Oriental Republic of Uruguay on the occasion of his country's independence anniversary. Students of the Sultan will start their new academic year 2019-2020 tomorrow. The Ministry of Education completed its preparedness for the new scholastic year, which will start by the work of the educational and administrative supervisors at the educational directorates, at the governorates, and administrative and teaching staff, and its related jobs at various governorates of the Sultanate. The Minister of Higher Education Admission Center announced the end of registration process in higher education institutions and for scholarship students who have passed the first preliminary screening process for the academic year 2020. Applicants who have completed registration for studying in higher education institutions inside the country reached 13,786 students, while applicants who have successfully registered for scholarship programs inside the country and abroad reached 7,493 and 1,326 applicants respectively. Applicants who have not passed the preliminary screening process have the chance to compete once again, can edit their preference list starting from tomorrow on Higher Education Center website until August 27, 2019. On other news, leaders of the G7 nations arrive in France today for a summit as brewing US-China confrontations over protectionship highlighted President Emmanuel Macron's tough task in delivering meaningful results on trade, Iran, and climate change. The three-day meeting in the Atlantic seaside resort of Biarritz takes place amid sharp differences over a clutch of global issues that risk further dividing a group of countries already struggling to pull together. Summit host Macron, who wants the leaders of Britain, Canada, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United States to focus on the defense of democracy, gender equality, education, and climate change, and has invited leaders from Asia, Africa, and Latin America to join for a global push on these issues. US President Donald Trump angrily escalated his trade fight with China, raising retaliatory tariffs and ordering American companies to consider alternatives to doing business there. He also blamed Jerome Powell, the man he appointed as chairman of the Federal Reserve, for the state of the domestic economy, wondering who was bigger enemy of the US, Powell or Chinese President Xi Jinping. Trump's actions sent markets sharply lower and adding to a sense of uncertainty on the eve of his trip to France for a meeting of the global economic powers. Trump's move came after Beijing announced yesterday that it had raised taxes on US products. Trump said he would be raising planned tariffs on $300 billion in Chinese goods from 10% to 15%. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative also said existing tariffs on another $250 billion in Chinese imports would go from 25% to 30% on October 1st after receiving feedback from the public. The impact could be sweeping for consumers. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson promised to build an internationally outward-looking Britain once it leaves the European Union after more than 40 years. Johnson has promised to deliver Brexit with or without an agreement with Brussels by the October 31st deadline. But British businesses fear that a chaotic divorce could imperil international trade and set back the UK economy. Johnson said those predicting economic pain and diplomatic isolation for Britain once it goes its own way were gravely mistaken. At the summit, Johnson will hold bilateral talks with US President Donald Trump and EU Council President Donald Tusk, as well as a host of other world leaders.
Where you can automatically come and break the law.
The Syrian army said that it had seized control of a handful of towns of southern Idlib and northern Hama, including Khan Sheikhun. In a television statement, the army said after heavy strikes in recent days and a full siege that soldiers managed to cleanse the towns or villages, saying that the advance was continuing. State TV say the latest push also expands state control of the highways that stretches from the capital Damascus to the city of Aleppo. Syrian troops reclaimed the cluster of towns they had lost early in the 8-year war, pressing their offensive in the northwest of the country's last big rebel stronghold. A Russian space capsule carrying a humanoid robot has failed to dock as planned with the International Space Station. The Russian space agency Roscosmos said the failure to dock today was because of problems in the docking system. It said the space station itself and the 6-person crew are safe. Vladimir Solovyev, flight director of the Russian segment of the ISS, said a new docking attempt would be made tomorrow. The capsule was launched on Thursday as part of a test of a new rocket that is expected to replace the Soyuz FG next year. It's carrying a robot called Fedor, which will perform 2 weeks of tests aboard the space station. To the Common News Bulletin. Canopus star or Suhail show over the Sultanate skies, promising a gradual decline in the temperature. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Back here in the Sultanate, under the patronage of His Excellency Said Mohammed bin Sultan Al Busaidi, Minister of State and Governor of Dhofar, the organizing committee of the Salalah Tourism Festival held the Wilayas competition, in which many wilayas compete in displaying their traditions, dances and handicrafts. Wilaya of Bazuna was crowned first place in the competition. The competition, which was held in Marouj at Amphitheatre in Salalah, offers an opportunity for tourists and residents alike to familiarize themselves with traditional dances and music at one-stop station. The Special Economic Zone Authority in Duqm issued a tender for design, manufacturing, supply, installation of rubber gantry cranes for its commercial container wharf for Duqm Port. The tender comes to complete works in the commercial wharf at the Duqm Port with the length of more than 2 kilometers. The tender will provide containers with modern and high-speed system in handling the shipping containers. The commercial wharf witnessed implementation of paving the works construction of 4 stations, 2 of them for containers with estimated length of 1,600 meters for handling around 3.5 million containers per year. The expected cultivated area in the Sultanate increased to reach 259,000 acres at the end of 2018 compared to 240,000 acres at 2017. According to the initial statistics issued by the National Statistics and Information Center, the total of agricultural production increased to reach 2.9 million tons compared to 2.6 million tons at the end of 2017. The forage crops accounted for the most of the cultivated lands, followed by fruits and vegetables crops. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry, in cooperation with the United Nations Organization for Industrial Development, UNIDO, inaugurated the second phase of Industrial Strategy 2040, which aimed to determine needed tools and policies to apply the strategy. The Ministry clarified that after achievement of the phase of the project, it succeeded in diagnosing the performance and situation of the industrial sector and determine governmental priorities in the coming phase at the fields of developed technology and industries that need capital and intensified resources, in addition to specified challenges and obstacles that face the sector. The second phase of the strategy will be focusing on determining the mechanisms and schedule of achieving these priorities. Data issued by Central Bank of Oman pointed out that continuous growth of the total financial credit from Islamic banks and its outlets reached around 3.8 billion Omani riyals at the end of last June compared to 3.3 billion Omani riyals at the end of June previous year. The total deposits recorded an increase to reach 3.3 billion last June comparing to 3.1 billion Omani riyals in June 2018. As a reflection of these developments, the share of Islamic banks and its outlets increased to around 13.5%. Stargazers and astronomers wait for Canopus star, also known as Suhail, with its astronomical and climatic connotations. The appearance of this star refers to the gradual decline of temperature and moderate climate in coming days. It also allows monsoon to enter the land, causing climatic change and rainfalls at higher mountains. The farmers at this time start to prepare their land in plowing it for planting. This star is showing up at the 24th of August every year at the southeast direction. Then it moves forward until it reaches the middle of the sky in December. Now for the general forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies prevail over most of the governorates with chances of low clouds and fog late at night and early morning over the coast of the Arabian Sea. Cloudy skies with chances of intermittent drizzle are expected over the governorates of Dhofar. Winds will be southeasterly light to moderate and seas will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is Sultan of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The new scholastic year starts tomorrow, and the Minister of Education confirms its preparedness of the new academic year. Leaders of the G7 nation arrive in France for a summit that will highlight trade, Iran, and the climate change. And the UK Prime Minister promises to build an international outward-looking Britain once it leaves the European Union after more than 40 years. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here in the newsroom and the studios, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Good night.